Good evening. My name is LaTanya Reeves, and I'm the chair of the Community Commission on Police Oversight. Before we begin, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. At this time, I'm going to call to order this regular meeting for Monday, September 9th, and ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Commissioner Shanfield.
Present.
Commissioner Olson is absent. Commissioner Newman is absent. Commissioner Bastick.
Present.
Commissioner Stewart.
Present.
Commissioner Gurian-Sherman.
Present.
Commissioner Canaday.
Present.
Commissioner Sturm.
Present.
Commissioner Vorpal is absent. Commissioner Williams-Johnson is absent. Commissioner Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Clement.
Present.
Vice Chair Lohr is absent. Chair Reeves.
Present.
There are 9 members present.
Thank you. Let the record reflect we have a quorum. We'll now proceed to our agenda. Commissioners, the agenda for this evening's meeting is before us. I'm not aware of any proposed amendments to the agenda, so let me ask if there are any amendments to the agenda from commissioners. All right. Commissioner Gurian-Sherman.
Thank you. I would just ask if, I'm not sure where it would go. It might be included somewhere on the agenda, but there was the city clerk was developing a enterprise team that will be supporting the commission, and there was going to be some follow-up on that. I didn't know if that could come at the time that we're doing the LIMS presentation, but I would like to see if we can get an update on that enterprise team.
Mr. Clerk, is that part of your
Madam
presentation?
Chair, you have under reports an update on the 2 standing committees, and as part of that, I was going to add on details about the enterprise staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That'll be great.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing no other further comments, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So motioned.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a proper motion to adopt the agenda as presented. The clerk will call the roll on that motion to adopt the agenda.
Commissioner Shanfield.
Aye. Yes.
Commissioner Clement.
Yes. Aye. Did it work that time?
Commissioner Bastick.
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart.
Aye.
Commissioner Gurian-Sherman.
Aye.
Commissioner Canaday.
Aye.
Commissioner Sturm.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams-Johnson is absent. Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Chair Reeves.
Yes,
There are 9 ayes.
thank you. The ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next, we have the acceptance of the August 5th, 2024 meeting. May I have a motion and second to accept that set of minutes?
Smith so moves.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Been motion second. The clerk will call the roll. Did you have a discussion? Commissioner Gurian-Sherman?
Yeah, I just wanted to note that I think these are good minutes, but I think sometimes we're missing where there is supposed to be follow-up. There was follow-up, and I was reminded of it, about the enterprise team in the minutes, and I think that's really good. But there are other parts of the minutes where we are having discussion about things, and they're either not being included or they're not being included, more importantly, when we're asking for follow-up. So a specific point is on the OPCR reports. I've been asking for 3 months for cumulative data so that we can see how many complaints we're getting in, how they're being addressed. And that is a follow-up point, and it did not get in the minutes this time, the last time, or the time before. So I would ask tonight that we make sure that when we're questioning and asking for information that is going to be, that we're told we're going to be given at the next meeting, that it be included in the minutes. It's important for us to keep track of that, and it's a very good reminder of what we've asked for. So with that, I will approve these minutes, but I would expect going forward that we would have more detail on follow-up.
Clerk's office, do you guys want that as a motion or just a directive to please add follow-up to the agenda, to the minutes?
I don't need any direction unless the body wants to give it.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll leave it at that. All right.
Do we want, I had a motion to approve. Shall we take a vote?
Yep.
All right. Commissioner Shanfield.
Yes.
Commissioner Clement.
Aye.
Commissioner Bastick.
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart.
Aye.
Commissioner Gurian-Sherman.
Aye.
Commissioner Canaday.
Aye.
Commissioner Sturm.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Chair Reeves.
Yes.
There are 9 ayes.
Thank you. The ayes have it, and the minutes have been accepted. First, we have the order of public comments. We'll open the floor to any comments from the public, giving each speaker 2 minutes to address the commission. We'll be taking speakers in the order they've registered. If you wish to address the commission tonight and haven't already done so, you may register with the clerks at the side of the dais. If any speaker has printed materials, please give those to the city clerk. We'll also invite folks to submit written comments using the forms available from the city clerk to be included in the public record as an alternative to speaking at tonight's comment session. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the commission tonight. We have a timer to assist speakers in monitoring their use of time. With that, our first speaker tonight is Chuck Turchick, Ward 6.
Fourscore and 10 weeks ago, our council and our mayor brought forth in this city a new ordinance, conceived for transparency and dedicated to the proposition that all complaints against Minneapolis police officers shall inform this commission's policy recommendations. Now we are engaged in a great conspiracy of silence, testing whether that ordinance or any ordinance so conceived and so dedicated can long remain ignored. We are met in a great hall of that silence, possibly now finally broken by Agenda Item 9, Recommendation Number 9. I have come to interrogate a portion of that ordinance to ask if it has seen its final resting place in spite of those who gave their votes that this ordinance might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that I should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot tolerate, we should not perpetuate, we must not hallow this silence. The men and women who passed this ordinance have compounded that silence, prompting the need for this commission now to act. The world will little note nor long remember what I say here, but it can never forget what you do here. It is for us, the willing, therefore, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work of getting this ordinance implemented. It is further for us to be here dedicated to the seemingly impossible task remaining before us, that from Minneapolis Code of Ordinances 172.30C, we take increased devotion to the cause of transparency and full implementation. That we here highly resolve that this ordinance shall not die under your domain, that this commission under God shall have a new birth of independence, and that ordinances of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers signed up on the sheet. And so with that, we've completed all public comments. The next order of business is for discussion. As part of the chair's report, I've included a memo about our 2 new standing committees. As you know, we've now transitioned our police policy research and recommendations work group and our community engagement work group into standing committees, which was done through the amendment and approval of our bylaws with authorization from the mayor and city council. As that memo indicates, I've asked Commissioner Shanfield to continue leading the Police Policy Research and Recommendations Committee. Commissioners Gurian-Sherman, Olson, Sturm, and Williams-Johnson, as well as Vice Chair Lohr and myself, will be committee members. I've also asked Commissioner Smith to continue leading the Community Engagement Committee. Commissioners Newman, Sturm, Gurian-Sherman, Stewart, and Vorpahl will be committee members. The chairs will be working with the clerk's office to organize initial committee meetings in the next few weeks. At that time, the committees will need to select one member as the committee vice chair and adopt a schedule of regular meetings. I'm going to recognize the city clerk for some additional details about efforts to organize these two committees. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. Madam Chair, as was mentioned at the top of the meeting, there is an enterprise staff group representing a cross-section of the city's operating departments that have been assembled under the direction of the Civil Rights Director, Michelle Phillips, who's in the audience, to help support the work of this body. The ordinance which creates this body designates the Civil Rights Department as the lead agency responsible for providing professional, technical, and logistical support necessary to the CCPO to conduct its operations. However, we recognize that given the importance of this body's work, the scope of its responsibilities, that there will be need for additional support beyond that which is provided by the Civil Rights Department. So we have assembled a team which includes representation from the City Attorney's Office, the City Communications Department, the Neighborhood and Community Relations Department, the Minneapolis Police Department and various divisions within that department, the Office of Community Safety, as well as other units from the Office of Public Service, which is the umbrella agency that contains 15 of the city's 25 operating departments. So it is quite a robust group. There are senior managers and department directors that are part of that team. It is our thought process that in meeting with the two standing committees, as you noted, Madam Chair, the first work for those two committees to do at their first meeting will be to elect one member as the vice chair of the committee and to adopt a schedule of regular meetings. Regular meetings and regular locations for those meetings are important and required under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law so that the public has reliable and predictable information about when and where those meetings will be held. So those will be the first two important things we do. It is my assumption that that enterprise support team will primarily engage with this body through its standing committees so that, for example, and not to be restrictive in any way, the representation from the city's communications department, neighborhood and community outreach, and community relations department would primarily be working with the Community Engagement Commission under the leadership of Commissioner Smith. So that work that is involved with that committee's work plan and tasks that have been delegated to it would benefit from the subject matter expertise of those professional staff in those departments. Similarly, the attorney's office, members of the police department, and others that would be more engaged in policy review and development work would be working directly with the Police Policy Research and Recommendations Committee, and that they would then help to inform the work of those two bodies that would then be reported back to this full commission for its consideration at regular meetings. That starts to resemble a lot of the function you may be familiar with of the City Council, where its standing committees are really the workhorses, where the work of the commission is developed and done and reported out for direction and ratification by the parent body, in this case, the CCPO, or the Community Commission on Police Oversight. So I think those are our intentions in working as staff with the two committees, that it would be staff working very closely with the chair and members of those committees to help develop work plans, to bring forward the recommendations and work of those committees to this body for its consideration. And that all of that, of course, would be funneled through and directed by Director Phillips and her team in the Civil Rights Department. So for accountability purposes, all of that work will be ultimately under her leadership as the I'll refer to it as the Chief of Staff for the Community Commission on Police Oversight. And I'm certainly willing to cede any time that I might have to Director Phillips if she has comments to add, but that would be, I think, our intention as the professional staff to work directly with the committees and their members.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Are there any questions? Commissioner Green-Sherman?
Thank you. I appreciate the memo the chair and the vice chair put out to get on top of the new standing committees. I do want to point out in the first paragraph, though, we need to set the record straight. It does say the Community Commission on Police Oversight has adopted, with approval by City Council, its bylaws. In our July 8th meeting, we adopted bylaws that did not include the police policy research and recommendation. work group to become a committee, and we did not pass that the community engagement would be a committee. I think that's something that needs to be noted for the record, and so that we all know the reason that got put in is at the insistence of the council president and other council leadership. And on August 15th, when they passed the bylaws, they specifically put in language, which you can see in the second and third paragraphs are quoted. But it wasn't on our initiative that we took these two entities that had been operating for over a year behind closed doors and now are going to have them so that they follow the open meeting law. So I would want to make sure that in the minutes it gets posted that the amendment to include these two standing committees in the bylaws was initiated and approved by the City Council. It was not done by this commission, and that is a stain on us. The second thing is, I don't see under the membership of these two committees any of the new members, and I'd like to know how that's going to be addressed. And I see that in both of the committees, there are commissioners who are not here tonight. I don't know if they even want to continue on these committees. Nobody consulted me before this memo was written and published about whether I wanted to stay on both of these committees. And I don't know if other people were asked, and I would like to know that. I don't think it's proper to be voting on members of these standing committees, which are going to be in effect through the end of the meeting on annual meeting on 2025, when we're asked to approve members who we don't even know if they want to stay on those committees. So I have a lot of problems with the way this is proceeding tonight. So I'd like to get some answers about the new members, and I'd like to get some answers on whether anybody was asked if they wanted to be on these committees, and if we know for certain the people who are not here want to remain on those committees.
Commissioner Gurney-Sherman, Commissioner Stewart is sitting right next to you. She's listed on here. She's a new commissioner. The governance committee is not on here, and so there may be people there on the governance committee that you don't see on this document. As far as if people wanted to stay on, the committees didn't change. They just the standing committee changed from work group, and so you're more than welcome if you would like. If you don't want to be on one of the committees, to let me know. We just wanted to confirm that the chairs want to remain in standing committees. By no means are we forcing anyone to be on a standing committee. So if you want to remove yourself, you're more than welcome to do so. But yes, the people that were currently on the committees, the work groups were still standing. We didn't dissolve the work group, we just changed the title. So if you wanted to be asked if you wanted to stay on the committees that you're currently on, that was not done.
Well, that's a problem. My apologies to Commissioner Stewart. I misread the name. I apologize for that. But I also want to make sure that we are not voting for people who don't want to be on these committees, because we have to have a quorum for them, just like we do our body. And if they don't want to serve, we are, in effect, forcing people to be on a committee. And I don't understand why this memo would go out without engaging everybody on these committees and asking them, is it your intent to stay on them? I'm on two of the committees. I can't tell you if I can stay on them because I don't know when they're going to meet. Are they meeting at the same time? For instance, the Civil Rights Commission has two of its subcommittees that meet at the same time. It would be impossible for a commissioner to be on both of those committees or those subcommittees. So until we have some of the logistics straightened out, how can we make an answer? And again, with people not here, we can't possibly know if they still want to stay on these committees.
Commissioner Gurney-Sherman, the chairs know who's on the committees, and they worked with the committee to set the date as regular. So when you're in your committee and have discussions about when you set your date and time for your meeting, that's still the same. So you would know when the meetings are. If you're concerned about the date and time and location, it's the same as before. When you guys would schedule a meeting, you would confirm with everyone to see when everyone is available.
That's not true. The Police Policy Oversight Committee is met the Thursday after the CCPO meeting, and now it's being changed to Monday. So that's a big change.
So change to Monday. As far as the commission, the Thursday, that was confirmed with the committee members, which you're a part of. The date for Monday hasn't even been confirmed yet, to my understanding.
And I couldn't confirm because I don't know when the Community Engagement Committee is. They only set one other meeting, not a schedule of meetings.
So what I'll have you do is talk to the chairs of the committees, and then you can let them know what you want to do, whether it be a part of it or not, and if the dates work for you. Because the dates will be official after this meeting. Thank you. Any other questions?
I was just going to say that we all had the same access to the same information, and if I had issue with the committee that I was on, and when that information came out, I would have spoken for myself and stated if I could or could not be on that committee. I don't think it's business right now to be debating. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. The next order of business is reports. At our last meeting, Commissioner Gurney Sherman requested that the clerk's demo of the city's legislative management system be taken up first. However, I'd like us to take up the reports from the Office of Police Conduct Review and MPD Internal Affairs first, as those have primary business matters for this commission. We also have a presentation from the Chief of Police. If there's no objection, I would like to take up items 6, 7, and 8, and then we can take up the presentation from the city clerk on limbs. Are there any objections to that arrangement? Commissioner Gurney Sherman.
Just have a point of order. In the ordinance that was, in the bylaws that were passed by the city council, it says that a formal motion has to be taken in order to effectuate these committees. We haven't taken a formal vote on your proposal. It says chair's recommendations. I think we need a formal motion.
Mr. Clerk, do we need to do a motion for the standing committees? Okay. And so I would like someone want to make a motion for the standing committees?
Commissioner Sherman, are you going to make the motion that you recommended?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying it has to be made.
So you're not making the motion?
But you're not making the motion?
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, I would move that the commission adopt the two standing committees of Police Policy Research and Recommendations and Community Engagement, with the chairs and membership as designated in the memo of September 9th, subject to the confirmation of each commissioner's desire to so participate.
Okay.
And also subject to new commissioners' invitation to join either of the committees.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Could the motion just be repeated?
Yeah,
No, because you weren't paying attention. No, you do all this talking, and then now you're not paying attention. No, absolutely not.
Commissioner Clement, I have a hearing impairment.
Commissioner Gurney
And
Sherman.
I don't hear everything that's said the first time. That is an abject insult.
Commissioner Clement?
No.
One moment.
That is outrageous.
Commissioner
No,
Gurney
you're
Sherman.
outrageous.
New portions
Commissioner
of that motion that are not in the chair's recommendation.
Commissioner
And
Gurney
I
Sherman.
want to make sure I caught them. And
Commissioner
if we
Gurney
don't
Sherman.
have
Commissioner Gurney, it's fine.
subtitles, I
Commissioner
can't know
Gurney
that
Sherman.
for sure.
It is
Stop
fine.
typing on
That is
your
an
computer and pay attention.
outrageous
Commissioner
accusation.
Clement.
Stop
For a
typing and look
person
at
with a
people when they talk
disability.
so you can lip read. Try that.
Commissioner Gurney
Oh,
Sherman.
my God. I hope the public is picking up on this.
Commissioner Gurney
That
Sherman.
is outrageous.
Commissioner Gurney Sherman.
That I have to learn how to lip read?
You need
Commissioner
to figure
Gurney.
something out.
Commissioner Clement. Okay, you guys need to stop.
Wow.
Seriously. Commissioner Clement. Commissioner Gurney Sherman has a right to ask for the motion to be repeated. Commissioner Smith, can you please repeat the motion as you just stated so that we can vote on it accurately? I would ask that everyone hold their comments, please. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I moved to adopt the establishment of the two standing committees, the Police Policy Research and Recommendations Committee and the Community Engagement Committee, with the chairs as designated in the memo of September 9th, and subject to the each commission member's agreement to participate in those committees, and with an invitation to the new commissioners to volunteer to serve on either of them.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on that motion? Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll on that motion, please?
Commissioner Shanfield.
Yes.
Commissioner Clement.
Aye.
Commissioner Bastick.
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart.
Aye.
Commissioner Gurian Sherman.
Aye.
Commissioner Canaday.
Aye.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Chair Reeves.
Yes.
There are 9 ayes.
All right, thank you very much. Again, the next order of business is reports. At our last meeting, Commissioner Green Sherman requested that the clerk's demo of the city's LIMS system be taken up first. I'll just repeat just to make sure we're on the same page. I would like us to take up the reports from the Office of Police Conduct Review and MPD Internal Affairs first, as those have primary business matters for this commission. We also have a presentation from the Chief of Police. If there's no objection, I'd like to take up items 6, 7, and 8, and then we can take up the presentation from the City Clerk on the Legislative Information System, otherwise known as LIMS. Are there any objections to that arrangement? Seeing none. With that, we'll proceed to the report from the Office of Police Conduct Review. We have the September report and the OPCR update to receive, and those will be given by our new Civil Rights Director, Ms. Phillips. I'm going to allocate a total of 40 minutes for the OPCR and Internal Affairs report, so that's 20 minutes for each report. Welcome, Director Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, technical difficulties.
That's okay. Let me get my time.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the Commission. Michelle Phillips, Director of Civil Rights. I will be standing in today for Interim Director Amini, who was not able to come. I want to first acknowledge that there were a couple of follow-up questions from our Commissioner, Graham Sherman, that I was unable to gather all that data. But one thing I do want to say is that I will be committing to making sure that at the next meeting we will get those intake numbers that you provided. I've been trying to work on some of our data issues, so I do want to acknowledge that, and that's something that I am committing to, and we will have that at our next meeting.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. There are several different changes that myself and Director Amini have been working on with the support of the enterprise to make sure that we have an appropriate organizational structure for OPCR. So the first slide is a reorg structure that I have been working on with several members to ensure that we have a fluid investigative process and that we don't kind of bottleneck in the same ways that we did previously. So what you will see is that there is a new intake supervisor position that we have, and that individual will be overseeing 2 specific intake case investigators, so that we have an investigative process where we have intake of our complaints come in under one supervisor. They'll be able to hold those individuals accountable. There'll be a timeline scheduled so that those complaints will not be bottlenecked, for lack of a better word, in the intake process. Once they've been vetted and there's been preliminary review at that intake stage, then those individual cases will go over to our investigations supervisor as long as jurisdiction is identified and it is within our jurisdiction to move forward with. Then our investigations supervisor will assign those cases to our case investigators for complete administrative investigations. You'll also see that our legal analyst position, I am in the process of reclassing to a policy and research supervisor. Reason being, the ordinance requires that we support the CCPO with their policy and research studies, and we are also able to self-initiate research and policy reviews within our body. So we'll have the, investigative process where we do the enforcement, and then the proactive process and unit within our policy and research supervisor and unit. This is still a work in progress. I'm working on reclassing a few other positions. So one thing I've also done that you will not see here is established a data analyst for the Department of Civil Rights in its totality. They will not only do OPCR, data analytics and cleaning. They will do that for all the divisions within the Department of Civil Rights. But I think it would be helpful to allow our research folks and our investigations to focus as much on their actual subject matter expert and job duties, and not be bottlenecked with kind of a lot of the data gathering and information requests. So we'll be centralizing those and hopefully streamline those processes. There was a question at our last meeting regarding the updates and status of our OPCR Division Director recruitment. We did our first round of interviews last week. I'm happy to say we had a good number of candidates, and we selected 5 to go ahead and interview, and we'll be doing second round interviews this week. We have also closed our OPCR investigations supervisor position last week, and we will be working on getting those interviews scheduled. One thing I would like to make sure is that once we have our permanent director in place, whomever that may be, they will be a part of picking their supervisor, as that individual will be a part of their kind of executive management team as they move forward. We have one case investigator who will be coming into the intake process, the intake unit, who is currently in the background stage, and we will be recruiting again. We have 2 vacant positions. Unfortunately, life happens, and 2 people that we extended offers to, they accepted and then declined. Other offers and competitive processes are out there, but that's okay. You know, we'll continue to move forward with that. And I'm also working on reclassifying 2 vacant positions to complaint investigator 2s, so that they will help with the more complex cases, as well as working towards helping to support the rest of the OPCR management. Our data. As we stated previously, there are some data challenges within OPCR as transitions evolved from project manager to Axon standards, and then we've had changes in our leadership as well as our changes within our line staff. Data has been entered in inconsistent ways that have kind of caused some delays in our cleaning of the data. So we're working with IT as well as others to make sure that the columns match up, we can merge the data, and that there's data health and integrity. And we're also putting together standard operating procedures for our data management moving forward. And I'm hoping that our business data analyst that will be coming on board will kind of be the monitor and carrier of keys, so that they'll be doing the quality assurance weekly, in my vision, to make sure that the folks in the division levels are entering the data. We don't have empty fields. Sometimes people start entering data, get pulled away, and forget. So then that will have a built-in internal control for data management processes, and then we'll help to make sure that the data that is supposed to be uploaded to the website monthly is uploaded timely and it's complete. So that will also be the responsibility of the new data analyst. This is the same kind of data plan that we showcased last week. I met with IT myself to kind of go through the data process and the data cleaning process. And an IT representative will be sitting on the interviews for the data analyst position, as well, as they have a keen eye for that subject matter expertise. And they will also be the liaison to make sure that we don't have data quality issues moving forward. So as we've been working through our backlog, I think Director Amini has been trying to keep you guys abreast of where we are with the backlog. I just want to be very clear about what the backlog kind of means. In OPCR, our backlog, or where our cases were kind of stuck historically were in the intake process. So we weren't even able to get through or vet or review those cases to move into the investigative process. Over the past few months, Director Amini has been vetting those along with her staff to make sure that we can either keep those cases in-house or work with Wiley Reber and send those cases outward. So the cases are moving from intake into investigations and being assigned to the investigators. So we're clearing the backlog in intake, but the cases are moving into investigations. So there's movement there, but those cases have not been completed. But we're working through that process to make sure that we utilize our limited resources effectively. So as of right now, we have 89 that are still in the intake kind of backlog process from the 206 that we originally had. But of those, 10 are being currently reviewed by the OPCR supervisor, 11 are assigned to one intake investigator, and 9 are assigned to another intake investigator at this time. So we will continue to work through that, and I will continue to help and support those individuals. And once we have our new intake investigator coming in, hopefully soon, they're going through the background process, get them trained, and they can help to move those cases forward as well. We have also been working on reigniting our community partnership with the Unity Community Mediation Team. Prior to me coming, the prior leadership was working on a partnership to have community-based organizations to help with the intake process. So they went out there and they trained these individuals. I want to say it's 7 sites from all over, representatives of Minneapolis, underserved, disenfranchised areas. So we went the Friday before last, and we met with them again, several representatives to train them, and then we are working through making sure that we train all the individuals at the site. So we kind of train the site managers, for lack of a better word, to get them back into working with us and understanding anything that has changed throughout the course of the time that we have not engaged. So they're very excited to re-engage. They actually invited me to speak on the 17th to help them to kind of understand what our vision is as we move forward and work with their community collaboration. We provided them with our complaint intake sheets. We went through them, letting them know kind of what they need. There is a MOU that they have with the city that was in place well before I got here. So we're just going to start utilizing those resources so we can get our community involved and make sure that the community knows that there is an opportunity for them to file complaints, not only for OPCR, but for our complaint investigations division as well. And before I stop, I also want to make an update really quickly about the training. There was some questions about the ordinance training that was mandated, so I did reach out to my partners at MPD as well as the city attorney's office to ask about when we can start working on mandated trainings for the commission. I did get some dates today from MPD's training division, so I want to appreciate MPD for getting back to me very soon. I will be sending out, or a member of my staff, to the commission, and MPD will be doing the police use of force, which is outlined in the ordinance. As far as the rest of the trainings, Minnesota Government Data Practices, Minnesota Open Meetings Law, Minnesota Public Employment Labor Relations Act, Ethics and Conflicts of Interest, any other subject of material recommended, of course, by NACOL. I do want to acknowledge 2 commissioners that I did get your emails a little later, we'll follow up, but there are several commissioners who will be going to NACOL. I do want to appreciate them for communicating with me and my staff. So the city attorney's office will be doing those trainings. They will be providing us with dates forthcoming. And then I also engaged with REIB, who said that they will also be doing their training. that is outlined in the ordinance for race, equity, inclusion, and belonging, anti-racist training as developed by the city of Minneapolis, which is outlined. So I'm getting dates for those as well. So those will be forthcoming from either myself or my staff to ensure that this commission is properly prepared to do what they're tasked to do. And with that, I yield my report, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Director Phillips. Are there any questions? Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, Director Phillips, I want to thank you for this very complete and very informative report. First of all, on the backlog, it's not a full report on the backlog, and you've committed to bringing more information, but we have for months been asking to get more information to understand it, and you've provided, I think, the most complete explanation to date on the nature of the backlog with the intake and the process. So I want to thank you and also encourage you to keep marching forward with that.
Absolutely, Commissioner Smith. Thank you.
Secondly, I wanted to note that you've committed to having a policy and research supervisor. The commission is on record through a resolution of seeking staff support. And it looks to me like we didn't have to march to the city council and bang a drum. We're still happy to do that. But your willingness to put that resource support in support of our policy review function, I think, is really deeply appreciated on the commission.
Now, don't backtrack, because that supervisor will need a policy analyst to supervise, so.
Okay. Well, we'll keep beating the drum.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that support.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy.
Thank you. Director Phillips, so since the last meeting, you and I had a conversation about the provision in the ordinance 172.30 about sharing information about complaints. And I think you had similar conversations with other commissioners, if I understood. Because we've had some public comment about that tonight, I know you're not here with a plan that's ready, and you might not be fully prepared to speak to what I'm asking you to speak to, but could you provide just a high-level update of where you see that issue heading so the public's aware?
Absolutely. So there was some questions about providing public kind of synopses, which is outlined in the ordinance. So I reached out to the city attorney's office right after to kind of see what was done previously, and worked with our city attorney's office as well as our city attorney directly to see if there is a different way to kind of provide all of the information that will be helpful to the community that isn't as labor intensive as the CCPO. So in Oakland, our community police review agency has for lack of a better word, a spreadsheet that kind of outlines different columns and information that would suffice for that particular provision. I also ran that past the city council president to see if he had any challenges or issues with that being in compliance, and there isn't any. What we're working on right now is to ensure that the columns that we will be providing to community and the CCPO is within the confines of the law and does not violate the Data Practices Act. So that is a work in progress. And I did meet with CCPO leadership on that as well prior to Commissioner Kennedy coming up and following up, but I do appreciate you following up.
Any other questions? Commissioner Gurney-Sherman?
I just want to echo Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Kennedy. I think this was an excellent report. I can say I feel heard. I think we as a commission feel heard. And more importantly, in being heard, I'm hearing things that are going to help us be effective. So that, for me, helps clear up some logjam. So kudos to both those comments, and I echo them. I was in these chambers when Unity Community Mediation Team gave a presentation, and the chief was there and others from the police department. I found some of the things that they're doing to be very helpful, and one example is they tell people, if you want to file a complaint, but you do not want to use your home address or phone number, you can use the site's number. I think that's very insightful. A lot of people do not want to give that information for many, many reasons. So I think that's wonderful. Some of the questions that I have are, and I'm not expecting you to provide that at this meeting, but if maybe we could get some follow-up.
Sure.
I've been hearing that the amount of money that Unity Community is asking to get is anywhere from $500,000 to $2 million. I don't understand, and I have not been able to find what the breakdown is of that. 8 sites are a lot to ask to run, and I believe they wanted to include a 9th site. But I would like to see some data on their hours of operation and the breakdown of this budget in terms of staffing and other costs that they have and site-specific expenses. And I'd like to know if there's any data that they can provide or that will be provided in the future to show, and I'm not even sure how you demonstrate this, that they are being effective in getting people to file complaints. And that might be only testimonials. It might be people who come in and say, had I not come to this site, I would not have had the information or the confidence to do that. One of the things that they talked about at that presentation, which I thought was intriguing, and I got to speak with the chief about it a little bit afterwards, was that they actually are employing some people to try to resolve the conflict if it's low level, if it's like an insult type of thing or somebody didn't approach something quite the right way, of trying to resolve that before a complaint is filed. On the plus side, you get immediate accountability, and there's a real benefit to that, both for the officer and for the public. There's also a danger that without protocols in place, certain officers might be given preferential treatment, other officers may be used more punitively. So what is in place to make sure that this informal conflict resolution before or instead of a complaint is being used appropriately? So again, I don't expect answers to any of these questions tonight, but if we could get some follow-up, that would be wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. I
Thank you.
jotted down notes and will do.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Any further questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that report. Next up, we'll receive the September report from the Minneapolis Police Department Internal Affairs Division. I'll invite Commander Ali and Ms. Hastings to give their presentation. And again, we have 20 minutes and 58 seconds for this report.
Want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Commander Ali with the Minneapolis Police Department, Internal Affairs.
Hi, everyone. I am Lily Hastings. I am the case manager now in Internal Affairs. A little different since last time I saw you. So we've got some reports here today, but I want to first talk about our team that's kind of sitting back here with us. So we've got MPD Chief O'Hara here. He's going to help us with a chief report after we're finished here with this. We've got AC Gators here as well from the Chief's office. We have Lieutenant Bryce Robinson from our MPD's implementation unit. To my understanding, they're going to be giving monthly reports starting next month, so we wanted to make sure everybody had a point of contact. And then sitting behind him, we have our Fit Force Investigations Team Lieutenant, who falls under our IA branch. Lieutenant Schoonover over there as well. So any use of force questions, that would be your point of contact. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to get started with our IA report. So tonight we've got some things a little different in our presentation than in our report. I will go over a mixture of both. So everything's covered. In our presentation, we've got staffing, web presence, decision process overview, and then we have that Chief's office stuff, which we will do at the end after everything with IA is concluded. We'll also give you an update on some trainings, our total case numbers, intake investigation, expedited, all those things, data compliance, and then give you an overview of what's in review panel and Chief's office. And we've included a very brief start to trending data as well. So we added a new organization chart here. It's not necessarily different from the one that we showed you last month. It's just condensed a little bit easier, so it's more readable, I guess would be the case. I just would note that in the IA side, you see IA Lieutenant / case manager. There are 2 people there. We each have our own team, The lieutenant manages sworn investigators, and the case manager manages civilian investigators. We do the same jobs, the same work. All that's different is that we just have 2 teams leading. And then just one other thing about staffing, I want to add that since last time we came here, we added 2 new civilian case investigators, and we just added a new sergeant case investigator as well. All right, before I get to the IA web presence, I want to go over some highlights from our training here. This is referenced in our report. So last month that we were here, we explained a lot of training that we've been doing. We went and met with ALIFA regarding that training. We had a whole drafted plan that covered 180 total hours. That plan was developed by our Fit Lieutenant Schoonover over there. ALIFA really liked our drafted plan. We have to still formally submit our plan, and we're making some tweaks as well. But we just wanted to meet with them to make sure we were on the right path. And then the other highlight we have here, last month and the previous month before that, we had mentioned something about FBI LEDA training. We now have our civilian and sergeant investigators that have not gone yet signed up to complete that training in November. That's, again, as we previously discussed last month. All right, moving on to our web presence. Some exciting news. This looks very similar to last month, except for one single word at the very bottom. The complaint process web page that we have been building is going to be posted in September. I know every single time we've said soon, 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 and we've got all of the approval that we have needed. I will tell you that was an extensive list of approvals that we needed, but it's approved, and we are just waiting for the business technology unit to finish the final edits and then press the upload button. So that will be available publicly. It'll be on the city's webpage. Anybody can go and view it. It'll also link to an internal page for city employees that will have the actual link to file an online complaint. And then we're going to be giving some training coming out of our division that we're developing right now on how to actually file that complaint for internal people. We got a brand new online complaint portal as referenced in the settlement agreement, and we have not done a training yet on how to properly use that. So this is all going to be coupled in the same timeline. Switch? Okay. Before I get to this final decision process, we're going back to the report over here. I'm going to run you through some numbers for this month. So for intake, we have 5 civilian case investigators working on intake, and then we have 1 case investigator that's doing split time between intake and investigations. Our intake queue as of end of day on 0904 was 17 cases. The average age was 32 days. The oldest age was 123 days, and our lowest age was 6 days. It's the first month that we've ever hit an average age of 30 days, so we were pretty excited about that, seeing those numbers drop. From last month, what we reported, that was a drop of 9 days, so that was really exciting as well. Investigations, we have 2 sergeants working on investigations, 2 civilian case investigators working on investigations, and then I'm also assisting with the backlog working with investigations. So open assigned investigations as of end of day on 0904 was 68 cases. The average age was 462 days. The oldest age was 1,167 days, and the lowest age was 84 days. We also have unassigned investigations, so we're working through, not every case has been assigned yet to an actual investigator who's going to complete the investigation. So for our unassigned cases, our unassigned investigation cases, that's 46 cases. The average age is 251 days. The oldest age is 492 days, and our lowest age is 30 days. Just a general highlight here, we transitioned 2 of our civilian case investigators that were in training and intake over now to full-time in investigations. So that unassigned last month, I believe, was 68, so now dropping down to 46 this month because we had 2 new people transition into investigations. I also ran the numbers this morning in case anyone asked for average assigned investigations per investigator. So for the assigned ones, our 5 investigators have an average of 13.6 cases. If we had gone through and assigned every single case in our investigations queue, between our 5 investigators, they would have 23 cases per investigator. All right. Moving on to expedited disposition. These are our cases where the facts are not in question here, and an officer agrees that they have made a policy violation here. So again, allegation examples, that's the same as last month. Profanity use, failure to use a BWC, when it's not like a use of force or a pursuit or a major incident, they're minor incidents. And then preventable minor squad accidents with no injuries. As of end of day on 9/4/2024, we have 47 cases that are waiting and expedited. The next step for those is that we will send those off to our. Before we send those off, we need an agreement from the officer that they want to go through the expedited disposition process. Once we get an agreement, those go through to the chief's office, and there will be negotiations starting with the chief's office and the police federation. Does that make sense? Okay. External investigations, these numbers haven't changed since last month. HRU cases, we've got 7. We have 10 external case investigator cases. Let me go to data compliance. As you previously heard Director Phillips state, both departments are working heavily on our data just to make sure that we have everything ready and it's in our case files. IA also did an audit, and we found that we never properly trained our investigators how to actually enter the information into our RMS. So we completed an entire training, explained every single field and what is supposed to be in every single field. Then after that, we conducted case file audits for every single investigator's assigned cases. And we went through and determined if they were compliant with that standard of what's supposed to be in the case file, or if they were partially compliant or something was not filled in. We met with ALIFA regarding these case file audits to inform them that we started these. We were not ordered to start them. We wanted to on our own volition, so they were really excited to hear that we started this, and they're looking forward to seeing all the corrections and what happens next in our subsequent audit. Let me see, moving on to review panel and chief's office. In the OPCR report, there should be information on all the cases at the review panel stage. They're taking point on those statistics. We take point on the chief's office statistics just because we work more closely with the chief's office. They work with the review panel. So for chief's office, as of end of day on 9/4, there were 3 cases at the Loudermill hearings. There was 1 case at the chief's office. Those have since changed, and now we have 2 cases at Loudermill and 1 case at the chief's office. Total cases that are in discipline-related grievances, that was 6, now it's 8. And then total cases in discipline-related arbitration, that was 3 cases. And then as we previously talked about last month, the discipline dashboard that shows the chief's decisions once they are made final. We gave a lot of case numbers here of all the case numbers that have now been made public and are available on that dashboard. So you'll see there's a lot of work getting into making sure all of these were up to date with the compliance standards that we have for that dashboard. And then all of the cases that are marked with an asterisk are ones that people on this commission actually heard. So I just wanted to denote those in case you wanted to go look them up on your own. All right. And then the last thing I want to cover before we move to final decision process is trends. I know that we've been asked for trending data. As we got further into this data audit, we realized that to get the trending data, we need to make sure all of the data is actually correct in benchmarks, so that's why we started doing that. What I gave here, again, as I mentioned, at the beginning of this presentation is a very brief start to what we have and what we know is actually correct in the system. So I hope to build on this as we come in following months, but we wanted to make sure we could at least show you that we tried and put a start in place to this request. So let's move on now back to the presentation over here, the final discipline or decision process. I put in a full length of everything that happens after it goes to review panel. So it goes to a review panel. The review panel meets for a 2-hour session. You all know this, to discuss the investigation, its merits, and their recommendations. The review panel then has 3 business days to finalize their recommendations. The panel chair then sends the completed recommendations to the OPCR director within those 3 business days. The OPCR director then sends the recommendations and the full case file to the MPD chief's office within 7 calendar days. After that, the MPD chief's office may direct the Internal Affairs Division to set up a Loudermill hearing for each of the focus officers. Typically, that is if a review panel finds merit, we will set up a Loudermill hearing. The Loudermill hearing is held, and all documents are added to the case file. Then after that is completed, the MPD chief's office begins their review of the investigation for final decisions. The MPD chief's office makes final decision on the investigation's merits and may impose discipline or non-disciplinary corrective actions such as coaching or training. What happens after that? This is all the optional processes. The Police Federation and the focus employee may file a grievance for the disciplinary decision. This process can be waived by the focus employee if they don't want to file a grievance. So if this process is waived, then everything becomes final at that stage. It does not become final, though, if they initiate that process. The next thing that would happen would be grievance meetings. Those are handled by our MPD chief's office. And then after all of these steps are gone through and been completed and or waived for that grievance process, then the case file will be submitted for publication on the city website. And that is what we talked about last month. That involves us, city clerk's office, city attorney's office, going through the case file, making redactions, and then publishing it up to the decision dashboard. Okay. So I'm going to stop there for IA's part of it. We still have some stuff for the chief side, but just want to make sure we get questions here.
Any questions? Commissioner Sturm?
Hi, just for general information, I'm kind of ignorant on how the grievance process works. I don't know if you can help me. So in my union, if we file a grievance, there has to be a specific allegation of a violation of the collective bargaining agreement. Now with discipline, when the Police Federation files a grievance on a decision of the chief, is that under a specific part of the contract, or is that just something they do and everybody just accepts?
Chairperson, thank you. Commissioner, yes, whether it's improper discipline or something else, but there's always something cited. And it is, my opinion, it is a flaw of the way the system is set up, because the way it's set up, there's a Loudermill hearing, but there's no sort of trial beforehand. There's no opportunity for someone to plea to a charge. So, the only time the union gets to weigh in, essentially, is after the fact. So that's something, I'm looking to change, because we all know, the regular court system wouldn't work if there wasn't an opportunity for people to be heard out. And that's why sometimes I sustain grievances. I agree with the union's perspective. There's a complexity to the disciplinary process. We all know that there's cases that are at times years old. And the discipline to be imposed is to be imposed based on the matrix at the time. And the matrix is far from perfect, and it needs to be revised. And there's cases I have seen since I've been the chief that, to me, is egregious. But it's not egregious according to the matrix, or it's not listed at all. And other things that are not serious misconduct, but the matrix, if you read it literally, it would say that it is like one of the worst things you could do. So there's definitely areas of improvement, but I do think a way to get down the amount of grievances we have and have discipline be final much faster would be to allow the union to have a voice in the process at some time before the decision is made.
Madam Chair. Chief, could you please introduce yourself for the public and for the captioners of this meeting? And that would be for everyone who comes to the microphone, too.
My name is Brian O'Hara. I'm the Minneapolis Police Chief.
All right.
So I just want to, Chairperson, when I heard you say the agenda before, I'm not sure if you wanted us to go into this right now, or is this something you wanted us to do separately?
Madam Chair,
With your meeting?
perhaps I could clarify for the body. There is an item on the agenda that's separate. It's related, number 8, the update from Minneapolis Police Department. These next few slides are specifically in response to a request from this body that you made, Madam Chair, for the chief to come and present about his decision-making processes. So I believe, and Ms. Hastings can correct me, this addresses those final boxes once the chief makes a decision, and there was a specific request to have the chief address those points. And so this is actually item 8 on the agenda, which is a continuation of the IA report that was just given. So if there are no questions on the IA report, then the chief could finish that out.
Any other questions? Commissioner Green-Sherman?
I think this, again, was an excellent report. Thank you, Ms. Hastings. Really appreciate it. Chief O'Hara, Commander Ali, appreciate you all being here. Ms. Hastings, and the next report that comes out in October, which is only our next meeting is 3 weeks and 1 day from today. But on the IAD organization chart, I wonder if you could insert where you are in that chart, because I see all officers, sergeants and lieutenants and commanders, but I don't see where you fall. So if you could include that, that would be very helpful. Also, on the IAD report, on the updates, a lot of great reporting of numbers, the intake queue at 17 cases, the open assigned investigations, open unassigned. What I'm looking to see is, are we progressing? So for this month's report, we see 68 cases have been assigned and 46 cases are unassigned. Was that flipped a year ago? Was it flipped, the other way 6 months ago? Again, we're looking for trends. We're looking as a commission, as part of our mandates, to figure out how we understand these numbers. So having some sort of context would be very helpful. So if we could get that, what happened a month ago, a quarter, 3 months ago, a year, I'm not specific to the time. I just want to see if we're going, what direction we're going in. And then one of the things that you had was open cases, expedited disposition. And this may be something that Chief needs to address. It says allegation examples are profanity, failure to activate a body-worn camera, or preventable minor squad accidents with no sustainable injuries. I'm assuming that officers are only eligible for this expedited disposition if it's a first offense. And they're not showing a pattern of using profanity, of getting in accidents, that type of thing. Am I right to assume that?
Commissioner Sherman, that is correct. My name is Commander Ali with the Minneapolis Police Department, again, Internal Affairs. That is correct. If it's a first offense related to profanity, then that case is suited for expedited disposition. If it's a second or third offense, then it becomes an administrative case.
And is that reflected right now in the disciplinary matrix?
That is reflected in our SOP.
Okay, but it's not necessarily in the disciplinary matrix. And this is a question for you, Chief O'Hara.
One moment, Commissioner Green-Sherman. We have exhausted all of our 40 minutes time on this topic, so I just want to make sure.
I'd make a motion for 1 additional minute.
Is there a second to make, for her motion for 1 additional minute for her question?
As so moved.
All right, second. All right, thank you very much. Any discussion? All right, 1 minute. Commissioner Green-Sherman, go ahead.
And Chief O'Hara, if you could just tell us briefly, what is it about the disciplinary matrix that you feel needs to have adjustments? And is that related to the fact that it's not in sync with standard operating procedures or the MPD policy and procedure manual?
Chairperson, Commissioner, I have found it's not that we don't have enough rules or policies written. I have found that things that I think most people would think is egregious, maybe isn't written down. Some things that I think, and probably the community would agree, is not really that serious, isn't. And I think it's making sure that, the type of cases that we're having that come through that could be common, that are frankly they're common in policing. This stuff happens. It's listed in the matrix. So, for example, I've had 2 instances this year where an officer was seen asleep in a police car. Sleeping on duty isn't on the matrix. And then if you look up the history here, everybody gets coached. That's not coaching. I mean, I've had things like that, and then I've had other stuff. For example, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yep. We review every single officer and their driving in vehicle pursuits. And the way the matrix is written, if the cop shuts the siren off while they're slowing down to listen to the radio or to transmit on the radio, that is like a level C violation. That's ridiculous, So, I mean, it's just adjusting the matrix to the reality of what we see and making sure that everything that is egregious is there the way it should be, Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to point out too, to your, one of your first questions, Commissioner, over here on the org chart that's shown up here, the branch, the IA branch over there, IAL lieutenant, and then / case manager. Case manager would be where I am.
Okay.
The sergeants are the sworn, the case investigators are our civilian.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll take this other section. Again, just for the clerk, my name is Commander Ali with Internal Affairs. Thank you, Chair. I will be discussing the final decision with the Chief's office. When a case is sent to the Chief's office, we have 30 days to review that case. Within that 30 days, I have the first 15 days to review the whole entire case file, which consists of the investigative summary report, any videos related to the case, the review panel recommendations and comments, and then the entire case and the allegation, how it came about. Within that 15 days, I then meet with the city attorney's office, my embedded attorney, or someone from the city attorney. We review the case together to see if the case needs additional investigation and is missing, whether it's another witness interview or is missing some type of allegation that was misrepresented within the case, and then we make a decision to remand the case, which is send it back to the division that the case came from, whether it's OPCR or Internal Affairs. If the case is sufficient and substantiates the allegation that's there, I have 30 days to review that case. Within that 30 days, I then set up a meeting with the chief of police, present the whole entire case to him, the allegations of the case with the investigative summary report, holds on the case, any body-worn camera or squad video related to the case, and then the chief then makes a decision. The chief makes the decision based on the discipline matrix that was in effect at the time of the incident. However, I have noticed with the chief, he looks at the merits, and obviously, as he stated up here today, there's flaws with our discipline matrix, and he asked for a full review to revise that discipline matrix. Some of the things that he considers in addition to that is the facts contained within the case file, mitigating or aggravating factors related to every specific allegation. Complaint history of the focus officer for something that you mentioned, Chairman Sherman. If this is a first offense, if this is a second offense, that obviously aggravates the actual allegations as well too. Legal advice, meeting with the city attorney to get their legal advice related to the circumstances of the incident. City, state, and federal laws related to the conduct that's in question. The Laudermill. The Laudermill is within the 30 days of the case review. This is something that I'm having a discussion with Alifa to try to remove it, because at times, especially in some of the cases that I have worked on, the Laudermill works outside the 30 days because the officer is on vacation or there's some type of scheduling conflict with the precinct level or the division level, and that makes the chief out of compliance in a way. So we're trying to address that with ALIFA, and hopefully we can get an answer soon for that. Again, what I mentioned about the review panel recommendation and then a discipline matrix. That's it. Yep. Is there any questions regarding the review with the chief's office?
Thank you. I'll just ask one. Did you say that when you're making a decision, you're looking at previous discipline data before making a decision on these cases for the officers?
Yep, so thank you, Chairman. So we're looking at just cause. What that means is if there's a specific allegation, what has been the history related to this allegation? One of the allegations that the chief brought up was sleeping on duty. Previous history and with the police department, that has been coaching. But with this chief, he's been imposing discipline with allegations related to sleeping on duty.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yep.
My question stems from the fact that when we do a panel, we get to see just that information from that incident. And so it's interesting that then the chief or you will look at it and look at the totality to make a decision based on the discipline matrix, but we're looking at one piece of information. So that was just interesting to me. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So thank you. Any other questions?
Not the individual, but the
Did
allegation, I think she was saying.
Just clarify that.
Yep. Just for clarity, we're not looking at the past history of the individual. We're looking at past history related to the allegation itself and the discipline matrix, what it says at the time. Yes.
Right. So in terms of the panel, we're only seeing what's current. We can't think about anything else happened before or
That is
after.
correct. It's the same,
And then
yes.
you guys are looking at if they
Yes.
committed 10 instances of sleeping in their car before you're making a decision, and we're looking at that one incident, for example.
Got it.
So just curious. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Could you use your microphone, please?
Chair Reeves, I think what he's saying is that they are able to look at the different matrices and see, oh, back in 2013, sleeping was something that is coaching, and now it's something has changed, but they don't look at it at the individual cop, oh, he has slept this many times. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
So you're saying that if we're looking at an incident, if someone's sleeping in their car, you're looking at they've done it before.
Yep. So one of the things, just for clarity, thank you, Chairman, we're looking at mitigating factors related to that incident and aggravating factors related to that incident. And that's what I meant about just cause.
So just to make sure I'm clear, because I've done this quite some time. So if we're talking about an incident, you said just cause. So to the example, the chief was sleeping in the car. Are you looking to see if that officer slept in their car before, no matter when it happened previously?
I do a full review with the city attorney's office, and we look at incidents related to that and see if that's an aggravating factor within the circumstances.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does anyone, Commissioner Sheffield?
That begs the question, at what point in the process do you all add in the officer's past history? Because we don't have access to that clearly. And so just would help us to get some clarity on when those factors do come into the process, because as we've established earlier, the officer's history also has something here at play. Is that right?
Thank you,
Like if it's
Chairman.
only the first
Yep.
time, you had said.
So when I conduct a review related to a case, we also review the officer's blue card, which is the history of the officer. However, we're looking at the incident of this. We're not looking at past history unless if it's within a year. And we use that as an aggravating factor.
Any other questions? Commissioner Stern?
So would it be okay would you want our feedback on these panel hearings to say if we think this matrix should be adjusted? Would that be useful for the chief to make decisions?
Chair, Commissioner, yes. I just, I see it the most because I'm seeing all of these cases. I know not everybody's on a panel here, but I see all of these cases, and I just have, the point of reference I have is what is the world like outside of here? I've just seen a couple things like that, just even within the last year. And just the earlier point that was being made, misconduct within the last year is what we're able to consider. But again, you see how old some of these cases are. So that in and of itself is problematic. But I have not always gone with what the matrix was at the time, if I think it's egregious, and then, unfortunately, the union will grieve it, and I won't agree, but won't necessarily agree. But, I impose the discipline I believe is appropriate, particularly if there is something that is unsafe for the officer, for the community, or something that is it's clearly egregious. Another instance I can think of that the way the matrix is written, I believe is too lenient, is a recent case we had with an officer who arrested a person and did not find a firearm on the individual with an extended magazine in 2 different searches. And, an instance like that not only puts the officer's life in danger, but everyone in the community, and then different places that the arrested person is. So to me, that is more serious than, the initial level on the matrix, because that's something, I find particularly egregious, that somebody could have died over that.
Commissioner Bostic.
Chief, thank you. There's been a lot of mention from you specifically that the discipline matrix is problematic. It's outdated, it's not moving with the time. Can you very briefly sort of describe what is the process for actually keeping that matrix relevant? Because you clearly have a problem with matrix yourself, which it seems problematic in itself.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have directed the commander of IA to begin that process, so he'd probably be the best person to give you the specifics, but I'll let you speak for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Chairman, for the question. We actually have a meeting on Wednesday regarding the discipline matrix, and we have a team within MPD to have that initial conversation on the changes related to that discipline matrix, and then we'll have a follow-up meeting with the chief to see what his vision is for that discipline matrix. It is also addressed within our MDHR settlement agreement as well, too, and that is something that we need to review yearly.
Thank you very much. That was exactly what I wanted to know, because I've read the MDHR settlement agreement, and that was what I wanted to know is when do you re-look at it to keep it fresh and meaningful? Thank you.
Yep, and then I just wanted to add too, we are doing like a comparative analysis right now, so I picked out 10 to 12 police departments that have consent decrees, some that are a little further along, some that are just starting like ourselves, so we can try to compare what their discipline matrix are doing and what ours is or is not doing, and missing sections that we're having there, and just see kind of where we're aligned in the process so that we can inform our review process here when we start it.
Thank you.
If I could just add on to that also, Chair, the other thing that's missing, I think, from the current matrix is it doesn't account for the variety of violations that can come under one subject. So, for example, if we have, use of force policy is, if you violate the use of force policy, it's over here on the most extreme side. But then the violations that you get are, somebody didn't check off a box on a form or something. Do we really want to be suspending the person for, 30 days or something like that? So, it's accounting for what is the actual cases that we're seeing and making sure that's actually addressed in the document.
Thank you. Commissioner Shanfield?
Yeah, just a tiny bit of feedback as well as what I've noticed in the recent cases where they're several years old. The discipline matrix that were provided and with the examples, often the policy violation isn't actually listed because not every single one is listed. And so a wondering I have is why that is, and is there some alignment between what's in there and what the violations, is that on purpose, that there's a gap or not?
Well, Chair, Commissioner, I've only been here 2 years. I know people have told me, though previously it was actually in the manual, correct? So previously it would be in the manual that this was, this particular chapter was a from A to C or something like that. It would actually be written in the policy manual, which is not there now either. And I don't know why the changes were made.
Commissioner Green Sherman.
I think this is a fantastic discussion. Kudos to my fellow commissioners for great questions. Thank you for your answers. I hope when you go back and look at the disciplinary matrix, you'll look at some of the ones that have been with MPD. Previous ones were much better than the one you have now, and the current mayor lauded this new matrix as getting rid of a bunch of gobbledygook. I think it's the exact opposite. And I think you'll find, when you look at best practices, as we have with Minneapolis for a Better Police contract, that the best disciplinary matrices are tied to the policy and procedure manual. And that is a big problem with the disciplinary matrix now. There are also very specific mitigating, aggravating, and extenuating circumstances. If I'm an officer and I have been violating something, I'm glad that you ask for extenuating circumstances. If my partner had a miscarriage the night before, that's an extenuating circumstance. It's not mitigating, it's not aggravating, it's extenuating. So I hope you'll look into that. I would like to go back to the slide on full final decision process. That is a fantastic chart. I really appreciate it. I think the public will appreciate it. When you get to the second row, the first box on the left, we have now gone through the OPCR process, and now it's in your hands, Chief O'Hara. So then we get to the very last box. Okay. The problem that I have as a member of the public is if the CCPO, with 2 officers out of 5 on the panel, recommend merit, if you agree with that, goes through Laudermill, goes through grievance, and it's overturned, in that very last box, all it's going to say is that it was it wasn't substantiated. Right. What the public doesn't get to know is, was there a body like ours, and did the chief agree with it? That's important to know. I bring this up because last week there was an incident, and I think you know about it, with Nicole Mason, and I have her permission to talk about this, who went to an encampment that was being evacuated. And she had hands laid on her by a lieutenant, somebody who's qualified to sit on our panels. She had the presence of mind to videotape it and go after him and say, "Get your hands off of me." He has 15 complaints that have been filed. Not one has been substantiated. He's been involved in 3 civil lawsuits. To see a lieutenant laying hands on our most respected and well-known indigenous leader who goes every day to those encampments, it makes me wonder what happens to other people who don't have the wherewithal to get their cameras out or to be able to say, "You don't have a right to touch me like this." It was an escalating, disturbing situation. If you haven't seen the cell phone footage, I will get it to you. I will also get you the comments that went out on that. The problem I have is, I don't know, when I look at those 15 complaints, if there was merit at some point in the decision-making process, and if that got weighed in, as other commissioners have been saying, in terms of what happens, and then what in the world happens at Laudermill and the grievance proceeding that overturns that. This is, I think, the basis of why the public doesn't trust the disciplinary system. And I think you'll agree with me on that, so I'm not pointing the finger of blame. If I sound like I am, I'm not. I sense your frustration along with us. And I hope as we work through the MDHR settlement agreement and go on to the US DOJ consent decree, that we will find better ways to be transparent and be able to keep officers who are doing good work and jettison the ones who are not.
Yep. Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. To your first point, whether we admit it or not, the matrix needs to be tied to a policy violation. In order to discipline somebody, you have to have a policy violation. So whether we admit it or not, it is, related to that. But I don't know the second incident that you mentioned, and if you would share the video, I'll absolutely follow up on that. But that's why, like I said earlier, in terms of dealing with the Federation, I don't want every time I discipline somebody to go be a grievance. And that's the way it works here. So if I can get the Federation to agree to something earlier, that benefits everybody. Because then, if they're not going to grieve it, that's it. The decision's final. It gets to be public. Everybody can see what happened. And I think, to your point about people not having faith in it, I think the biggest thing that both the police don't have faith in the system and the community doesn't either is because this whole thing just takes too long. All of it takes too long. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll ask the clerk to receive and file those reports. Much appreciated. Next, we'll receive the demonstration on the city's legislative information management system by the city clerk. This presentation was postponed from the last two meetings, so we'll take that presentation now. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for reference, in your agenda packets, this presentation is included in the last 14 pages. So it starts with this image. If you want to follow along with me or take any notes, little tips that you might pick up from the presentation about how to better use the system or questions you have, that might help us get along. I also want to appreciate Commissioner Gurry and Sherman for requesting this presentation to begin with, and hope that you find it helpful. This is intended to be a very basic introduction to the city's legislative information management system, also known as LIMS. LIMS is a comprehensive system that tracks public meetings for the City Council and for our city boards and commissions, for example, the CCPO. It includes notices, calendars, agendas, reports, minutes, and other meeting documentation. It was originally conceived and designed to support the City Council, which you can sort of see from its original design and its core functionality. It was, however, expanded after we launched the system in 2017 to also provide meeting management support for boards and commissions. In terms of its overall design, I can share that our primary focus was to create a web-based interface sort of patterned on Google, right? A popular search engine, easily usable, somewhat intuitive to the general public. Since our initial launch, we have taken inspiration from further system design and improvements using other similar systems that support the United States Congress, various state legislatures, and other comparable jurisdictions. We've continued to make regular system improvements and refinements, including in response to 2 public surveys that we conducted about LIMS. And one of our goals in the next 2 or 3 years is to produce online help videos that would help public users learn how to use this system to identify, track, and retrieve data out of the system. So with that background, I'll note that public users can access LIMS from the city's website, and that's shown at the bottom of this slide. We don't have to go through the website. The direct URL is lims or lims.minneapolismn.gov. So if you enter that into a search browser, you'll immediately go to our LIMS homepage, which is the picture on this slide. This slide shows you the homepage, but it also shows some key features. So there are 2 standard navigation bars, as you can see with the green arrows, one at the top that is on every page within the system. And on the home page, there's one about halfway down that really deals with meetings. And that one is divided, as you can see, into all meetings, council meetings, independent bodies, boards, and commissions. That second navigation bar that's midway through the page is organized according to meetings. You can see, as I said, the all meetings and council, et cetera. On the left side of the column, you see it says upcoming meetings. So all of the meetings that are in our system, there's a small display of all of them by date and time shown when the agendas are loaded into the system. They become active and you can access them easily from this home page. On the right side of the page, it says marked agendas or recent actions. So as soon as meetings are adjourned, we post what we call a marked agenda. It's a very, very high-level summary of all of the actions taken and the disposition of each item, and they're posted usually within 24 hours after a meeting adjourns. And this is available on the right side of the page. So you get the upcoming and the immediately completed meetings from the home page. For the council, there is, of course, some additional search functions here in the middle of the page, resolutions, ordinances, and actions, and you can click that to get into those specific types of official actions by the City Council. And then, of course, from the top, You can also see that the CCPO being an independent body, if you use this navigation drop-down and click all independent bodies, then you would be able to search across the independent bodies that were in this tab. I recognize the screenshot says all boards and commissions. If you were following along right now and clicking that, it would say all independent commission or all independent bodies, because the CCPO is classified as a Tier 2 independent body. So if we were to take that screen, that independent body, you would come ultimately to the Community Commission on Police Oversight. And this is what's called a board details page. Every single one of our 57 boards and commissions has a board details page in LIMS. It basically serves as a home page for that body. If you look into the URL at the top of that screen, when you get to a specific body, it will give you the link. I've copied here at the top of this slide the CCPO homepage link. If you want to bookmark that, if you want to email that to other people, that will take them right to this page. So you can bypass going through sort of the entry pages into LIMS. But from a board's detail page, you can access information about its major purpose, the date that it was established, its membership, including the number of seats and the appointment process, the regular appointing process for the seats, whether in fall or spring cycles, details about the current members and their terms, information about the body's meetings, quick access to meeting agendas and calendars, and other legislative details like the body's enabling legislation and bylaws, all available from this home page or board details page. And although we don't widely publicize it, each of these pages can be bookmarked, as I mentioned, using that link at the top. About halfway down on these detail pages, you'd find another box of information called meeting details. It's not included in this screenshot. I'm going to get to it next. But if you were to scroll down and find that meeting details, you'll see that it provides access to agendas, minutes, and the calendar for the body. In this case, it would be links to that information for the CCPO. So CCPO agendas, CCPO minutes, and CCPO calendars. If you were to click that button, it would take you to this next page. So you can see this page is meeting information, and it's been filtered for the Community Commission on Police Oversight. And as you can see, for each of the bodies, you see an agenda, and that agenda link can be filtered for dates, whether you want the most current on top or you want the oldest on top. It also includes a link to all of the posted minutes. And for those meetings that have broadcast meetings, like this body, where the meetings are broadcast and recorded, there is a link to the video of the meeting. And we'll note that all of the meetings of the CCPO have been video recorded, and so their links are here except for the first 3 meetings. The first 3 meetings were not broadcast, and so there are no video links included in the CCPO detail page for those first 3 meetings. So next I want to show you what an agenda looks like once we publish that in LIMS, and I'm going to go through each of the major headings. As you can see, I used the meeting from August 5th as my explanation or my example in this case. You can see first and foremost that every agenda shows that this is the agenda. Our standards internally are to post all agendas 2 business days before the date and time of the meeting. Sometimes that's not possible. We always post at least 24 hours in advance of a meeting, but we strive to provide 2 business days in advance of the meeting, the agenda being posted in LIMS. Next, you'll see that the membership is reflected. The membership is only updated after a new member takes their oath. State law and city charter require that elected and appointed officials include members of our boards and commissions, take an oath before they exercise any of the responsibilities or duties of the position. So we do not update the roster of members until we have on file in the clerk's office the oath of office. But the membership at the time of the meeting is reflected. Then you'll see that the standard order of business is reflected in these major headers. This gives the public and it gives members and staff a sense of the organization of the meeting and what to expect and in what order generally. And then there are links provided to all of the meeting documents and supporting materials. So this is what a member of the public or a member of the CCPO should expect to find in LIMS for each agenda prior to the meeting. Immediately after the meeting, we post a marked agenda. And so I'll also go through what a marked agenda looks like. In this case, I used the body's May 13th meeting as an example. You'll notice at the top it says marked agenda. So this is not for an upcoming meeting. It's a meeting that's already been completed. Marked agendas are generally posted in LIMS and available to the public within 24 hours, sometimes sooner. The marked agenda, again, is a high-level synopsis of actions taken. These are not a substitute for minutes, but they do show who was present. So that's the next thing you'll see. Which of the members were actually present and which members were absent. Records the attendance. For a broadcast meeting, like the CCPO, there is a link to the meeting video included at the top of the agenda, that marked agenda. And then each of the regular actions is shown under the header. So you can see, for example, the first action we took was a roll call to prove that there was a quorum present, and the automatic annotation in the system says quorum present. The adoption of the agenda was done. It says action taken, adopted. These status tags are automatically uploaded into the system. So we do not have discretion to add a lot of details here. They're automated so that we can quickly produce these in real time for the public. The links to each of the meeting agendas are still here. If there are materials that were added that were not available prior to the meeting, when the original agenda was posted, we would add them afterwards, so that the marked agenda would have all of the documentation included. And so that's a marked agenda. I want to talk about the search functionality a little bit. It's something that we've worked a lot to improve over the years since we launched. And yet, there are thousands of files within LIMS because it includes all of the city council, council committees, and all 57 of our boards and commissions. So it's not necessarily always going to be the best if you simply type in a simple word and get a lot of results. Just like you would with an internet browser, you can type in a phrase, you're going to get thousands of responses. So I'm going to offer you some tips on what I have learned and how I think you could better use the system, this search functionality. And as Coco Chanel says, sometimes less is best. That's absolutely true with our search function. It probably is not going to do well for you to enter in 16 different search terms. You're going to get as many responses as LIMS can give you. So what I recommend is that you find one or two keywords that you know are likely to be involved in the search and enter them here, and then hit the magnifying glass, and that will take you to the results page. The results page also is what I refer to as our advanced search page, because there are additional filters to filter and refine your search. Or, alternatively, if you don't enter any words or phrases into this search bar and you just hit the magnifying glass, it'll take you to the advanced search page, and you can start using those filters right away. That's also another tip I would recommend. If you know a phrase, a particular phrase that you think is probably in your research document, you can enter it in quotation marks. So those types of Boolean searches that you might understand for web searches, they work here too. So if you wanted to find, for example, if there was in any document, Coco Chanel, then you would enter that name in quote marks and then hit the magnifying glass to start that search. But whether you entered in a brief search term or a key phrase or nothing at all, you're going to come to this page, which is the results page, and it has additional filters. So you can see, for example, there are meeting agendas here. I've manually adjusted this to reflect meeting agendas. It will automatically default to file items, which you see to the left here. The reason I want to encourage you to manually choose meeting agendas is because file items defaults to city council and only city council. This system was primarily built for council. Because you don't have files, you have meeting agendas that have links. So you want to choose meeting agendas where it says 1086 here, and that will limit your search to things that will most likely have CCPO results. Secondly, you can see over here on the left-hand navigation bar, it defaults to council and council committees, but there's an option to choose independent bodies. And you can even enter in the name from the drop-down search. You could use this as a further means of winnowing and refining your search to limit it to results for the Community Commission on Police Oversight. And then here on the far right of the screen, you'll see it's defaulting to date and relevance. It actually defaults to relevance right now. I want to encourage you to choose date. And the reason why is if you choose date, it's going to put the most recent results first. And in our experience, most of the searches that people are conducting, they want the most recent thing. It's something recent that they're trying to find. If you choose relevance, the system is set up to choose those files within the system that have the search terms, keys, or phrases as the most times. So it's not necessarily helpful if you choose relevance, because if you typed in city clerk, it's going to find every single document in the system that says city clerk, and it's not going to rank them by anything else. So it's not necessarily helpful to you to use relevance unless you really, really are good at refining your search. So I would encourage you to use the date, to use meeting agendas, and to filter by the independent bodies and the drop-down box to choose the Community Commission on Police Oversight. From the main homepage, you'll also see there's a tag at the top or a link in the main navigation bar called Resources. If you click on that, you're going to get this drop-down menu, and you'll see 3 of them I've highlighted are Notices, City Charter and Code, and Subscribe. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 of them, and then I'm going to go more in depth into City Charter and Code. Notices will take you to a separate city website right now. We haven't developed the functionality within LIMS, where the clerks work with all of our departments and list, according to date order, all of our upcoming hearings and other matters that require a legal notice. So, for example, if the CCPO is conducting a public hearing, we would notice that on that page. And so that's a page where all public hearings, all types of meetings that require a legal notice can be accessed. At the bottom, you can see I've circled subscribe. We do offer a subscription service, and if you subscribe, you can subscribe to receive updates to the CCPO, so calendaring items, notices, agendas, and minutes. You can subscribe to any of our 57 boards and commissions, newsletters from council members and mayor, and newsletters from departments. So it will take you to a page where you can select all of the notices you want to receive. I encourage this body and anyone interested in following this body to go there and subscribe specifically for the Community Commission on Police Oversight. The second one down on this resources list I said is the City Charter and Code. If you click that, it will take you to another website. It's an external site hosted for the city by Municode, our contractor that is the codifier for the city. If you click that link, you're going to come to this home page. So this is the home page for Minneapolis that is managed by Municode, and here you'll be able to find our charter and code of ordinances and our Munidocs. So this is the default home page. The first thing you're going to find is the charter and code of ordinances with this blue link that says Browse. A new function we've released in the last few years is municipal documents, known as Munidocs, which has the green link, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. If you click the blue button, you're going to go immediately into the charter and the code. From the left side navigation, there are 3 specific links I want to show and bring to your attention. If you look at that home button, that house, that's the city charter and code. If you look at the gavel, this is a listing of all of our ordinances that have been adopted from 1997 through 2024 and current. And then Munidocs is the page document icon. If you click and go into Municode, I want to share with you some tips and tools on using this resource. It is important, especially if you're doing legal research on the work of the city. Municode has an excellent search function within its site, and that very first box at the top says search or jump to. You can enter a keyword, a phrase here, and it will take it to you within the city's charter and code. Top right, you'll see it says Show Changes. You can click this and it will activate a list of changes that have been made since the last supplement. And speaking of supplements, I'll draw your attention to the far left. You'll see it says Version, and then it says on this slide, February 6, 2023, Current. The charter and code is supplemented or updated on a regular basis, generally every few months. And so there's a drop-down list here. It's always going to default to the current supplement that's in force. But for legal purposes, you might want to say, what did the code say back in April of 1999? So you can use that drop-down list and go all the way back to the supplement that was in force in April of 1999. And it will give you the current charter and the code of ordinances at that point in time. So that drop-down menu is really important. Here's a warning. If you use that drop-down menu and choose an older supplement and forget to go back and put it in current and then start to do other searches to think you're in current time, but you haven't reset it, you won't be searching current data. So if you change the settings on the version or supplement that you're using, be cognizant of the fact that it doesn't automatically reset. You'll also see that Municode uses some useful tools. I've circled the modified button that always shows up anywhere within the code. If you scroll up and down that navigation bar that there's been a recent change, it'll have that tag that says modified. And you can click on the tag and it will show you what the modifications are. On this home page, it also says adopted ordinances not yet codified. I'm very proud of this fact because this is something that the city of Minneapolis and my office in particular worked with Municode to develop. Oftentimes, there are ordinances that have been enacted by the mayor and council, but they are not yet codified, so you won't find them in the code. And we said that's a problem for us and for our community. And so we've come up with this solution, which is enacted ordinances not yet codified will be listed here and linked, so you can at least get to them before they actually have codified them. As an example, I wanted to use this body. So here, I want to show several things. First and foremost, I selected the March 15th, 2023 version of the Charter and Code because that was when the last ordinance was enacted, which created this body. So I went to that point in time, that supplement, and you'll see that what it brought for me was a lot of these blue amended tags to show me that changes were made in Chapter 172 about police conduct oversight. So you can see all of those amended tags. If I clicked on any of them, it's going to link me to this ordinance right here. And what that would do is take you to that actual ordinance so you could see the language of the ordinance that amended this chapter. So that's a very, very quick introduction to Municode and the use of the code and how to research it. The other feature I mentioned was Ordinance Bank or Ord Bank. This is accessible via the icon of the gavel in that left side navigation bar. All of our ordinances from 1997 through current are listed here. I didn't provide a lot of information or slide screenshots here, but if you go to Ord Bank, you can actually get the official ordinance with the mayor's signature, the clerk's attestation, the vote record from all 13 council members, and the full text of the ordinance as it was enacted in each year. So they're listed by year and then by ordinance number. Ordinances are numbered consecutively in the order they're enacted. So there isn't a great way to specifically find the ordinance here, but if you know the ordinance number, you can come here and get the original ordinance. If you know an ordinance was amended by a subsequent number, you can find that number. And you can always get the original ordinance from Ord Bank. The other tool we recently launched, I mentioned, was Munidocs. Munidocs is an online curated collection of non-legislative but important historical documents. So for example, we have the minutes, what we also call proceedings of the City Council, back to its original incorporation in the 1800s, all the way through today, here. We also have the budgets of the City that the City Council has adopted. I'm not sure what year we go back to. We have a variety of manuals and guides. Under miscellaneous documents, we have the City Charter and local laws. Local laws are special laws enacted by the state legislature with our concurrence. So you know our Constitution forbids the state legislature for enacting special laws, but they can enact local laws applicable to us with our approval. This is an archive where you can find all of the local laws enacted by the state legislature that we have approved. We also have some documents for the mayor's office, including vetoes, all of the vetoes issued by the mayor over the years. We have executive orders, both on policy and public emergencies from the mayor's office, proclamations, and then plans, including comprehensive plans and transportation plans over the years. This is a repository we expect to grow into the future, working with all 25 of our city departments because we feel that this is a one-stop shop of a curated collection of important documents that are relevant and of interest to the general community, but don't really fit within the legislative system broadly. That is a very fast introduction to LIMS. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to make that presentation, and Commissioner Gurry and Sherman for suggesting it. I'm happy to take questions if you have them, recognizing you still have other business to do.
I'll just say fast and much appreciated. Any questions?
Just one.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Sherman.
Could we look up disciplinary matrices through LIMS?
I don't believe so, Commissioner, through the chair, Commissioner, I don't believe so. The only way you would find anything about disciplinary matrices through LIMS is any reference or documents that were presented at a public meeting. So LIMS is specifically limited to public meetings.
Thank you. A great presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. There is no action required, so I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that presentation. Next, we'll return to reports, beginning with the report of our Police Policy Research and Recommendations Work Group Now Standing Committee, which will be given by Commissioner Shanfield. We'll reserve 10 minutes for each work group report. Commissioner Shanfield?
Thank you very much, Chair Reeves. I'm going to talk about three things tonight regarding the last time we will use the word work group for our crew, and we will transition to becoming a standing committee. I'll talk about three things. One is the listening sessions in the future. Two is the policy review process. And third is learning from the panels to inform the policy review. We did meet again this past month in August, but our group is very small. Going forward, as a committee, we wouldn't meet without a quorum, but we had an informal discussion, and the topics, as I mentioned, one, we brainstormed a few policy topics that we might believe to be important to work with the Community Engagement Committee, a future committee, for listening sessions with the community. Those topics included the use of force, protests, First Amendment and protected demonstrations, officer mental health evaluation, stop, search, and arrest, and the coaching process. Not everyone, there were only 3 of us present. We didn't all come to agreement on those things, but that was part of the discussion. Next, we talked about the policy review process and different ways on how we might proceed should it be up to us. I would really looking forward to hearing more about where that stands. We would still really like to learn we'd like to figure out how the work of the commission, and specifically our committee, will coincide with the other entities reviewing the policies and the discipline matrix. In particular, thank you for bringing that up tonight. Working alongside and with and hopefully in concert with the MPD, with the implementation unit, with ALIFA, of course, Director Phillips, with your team. We would really like to be involved in the policy review. We have the expertise and bandwidth to offer that to the city, and we also represent the public. And so we want to make sure that we are both offering support as well as not duplicating any efforts. We'd like to be involved in the process. We also had a short discussion on panels and using that data to inform our policy. 2 questions arose. One question was predominantly, it seems like we're reviewing IA cases, and that was intriguing to us. And will the backlog, will those cases continue to be predominantly IA or not? And how equitably the panels and representation is being distributed across the commissioners. I'm really looking forward to our future committee meetings. We will, as you recommended, elect a vice chair next. We will also look at the old PCOC case summaries. Those are, as in public comment, have been discussed regularly as a really useful set of data. And so we're going to look at that, as well as discussing a formal request for the case summaries since April of 2023, which haven't been provided yet. And so we're going to discuss, though, our approach for that and requesting that because we believe that we will be able to use that data effectively and efficiently to look for trends and look for patterns. Of course, we don't discuss the panel cases that we're on with each other, but that would be a way for us to see some trends and really be able to help tighten up where the policies are failing the community. And the third and final piece here is around the coaching process. In the policy manual, there's a very limited amount of information about the process itself. I would love to learn more about that. I would like to both between our knowledge on the committee, brainstorm some pros and cons, but also really hear from MPD and the implementation unit, what that process looks like. We've talked about it a couple of times tonight. There's been a lot in the news about it, of course, but we'd really like to learn more about what's the protocol, what's the process. Making that more transparent will really help increase the trust with the police department. Moving forward, we're going to be meeting on Mondays. That was the decision I had made as the chair. I'm looking forward to working with the city clerk as well as the other members of the committee to ensure that we have a time and date and place to to work with and that can work with and for everyone. One recommendation, one hope we had was to hold the meeting somewhere in the community. I understand that needs to be a regular place, and we'll make sure that that happens. But of course, downtown is an important place, especially for city staff. But we also want to be able to invite members of the public who might not be able to make it here, places that have free parking, places that are more accessible. And so we're looking into other options like community centers, et cetera. I'm going to pause there. I really just lastly want to say, though, thank you to all the staff members who provided updates. Really helpful to see the whole police review process, or the panel review process. And we look forward to also finding out whether or not the recommendations that we make are helpful to you, Chief O'Hara, are included in your approach. If there's feedback you have for us that would help us be better at that, we want to help you do your job better as well. We look forward to that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Shanfield? Commissioner Bostic.
Thank you. I better talk to you about being on that committee. Could you, for my edification as a brand new commissioner and the public, just let me know which commissioners are actually on the
Yes, currently the committee is made up of Commissioner Green Sherman, Commissioner or Vice Chair Lohr, Commissioner Olson, Chair Reeves, Commissioner Sturm, Commissioner Williams-Johnson, and myself. That's 7 of us. That's not a quorum, so we'll have to discuss membership and hoping that there will be places for everyone who wants to serve on the different committees to be able to do so.
So what I'll just add to that is no standing committee can have over 7 people. So if there's someone that does not want to be on a committee, because we can't have more than quorum of the body. So please think about it. And make sure the chairs know if you really want to be on a standing committee, so we make room for someone that may have more time if you don't have time. So we just want to make sure everyone has opportunity. So if you know it may not work for you with your schedule, please let the chairs know. Thank you. Commissioner Green Sherman.
What is the quorum for each of the standing committees in order to meet? If you can't have, is it based on 7, so you'd have to have 4? Or is it based on the actual number who are on the committee?
The number, so +1. So for example, if there's 7 members, it'd be 4. If there's 5 members, it would be 3, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
My final question is, looking forward to reaching out to Mr. Carl and making sure that we're able to connect soon. Thanks.
All right. Seeing no further hands up, we'll have the clerk receive and file that report. Next up is the report from our community engagement work group. I don't believe that the work group have met since our last meeting. Is there anything to report, Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, just briefly, we had difficulty getting a quorum together for a meeting, and some concern among some members about meeting as a work group while we're in this transition process to committees. So we have polled committee members and have identified tentatively the date of September 18th, Wednesday at 6 p.m. as a meeting time. But we need to meet with the clerk's office to confirm the logistics with city staff and then confirm that that will work for committee members and staff. So the one other comment I would make is, as evidenced from our August meeting, the Commission adopted a resolution setting listening sessions for dates in October. And I think in light of this transition to our committee process and meetings, I would recommend we defer holding those sessions until we've had more time to meet as committees, to coordinate the work of policy review and community engagement, and work with the city staff to enterprise team to plan that well. So I just think somebody should say that out loud, and I thought I would.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. I know that at our last meeting, I believe we gave ourselves until November 1st to have the date scheduled. And so we do want to make sure that we do it correctly, especially with our new standing committees. And so point well taken on that. Commissioner Green Sherman.
Do we, since we have to adhere to the Minnesota open meeting law, are these meetings have to be in a location where they can be live streamed?
That will be in the next item, but I don't know if they have to be live streamed, but they do have to be open to the public. They have to be able to get in. I know some other boards do not have live stream on their standing committees. Like, for example, civil rights, it's open to the public, but it's just in a room without live stream.
So with this particular 2 standing committees, will they be live streamed? And
No.
If the answer is yes to that, that's going to limit us in the locations that we can be in.
They will not be live streamed.
They will not be live streamed. Okay, and then the notice for the meetings, when does the actual notice, not the agendas, but the notice for the meetings have to be put on limbs?
Is it 10 days? How many days is it, Mr. Clerk?
Through the chair, a special meeting requires no less than 3 days advanced notice before the date of that meeting. And these first meetings would be noticed as special meetings because they aren't regular meetings.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All right, thank you, Commissioner Smith. Not really a report, we'll just file his comments. Finally, we'll receive the report of our governance work group. This month, the work group met to discuss the draft CCPO rules. In Commissioner Olson's absence, would the city clerk be willing to introduce and present the draft CCPO rules?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I failed to do this the first time, so for the record, my name is Casey Carl. I have the privilege of serving as City Clerk. In your agenda packets, just prior to the presentation on the LIMS demonstration, you should find a copy of the draft procedural rules. It has this very lovely picture of a gavel on the first page. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit of guidance in your packet. I'm not going to attempt to read all of the rules to you. I will summarize some of the highlights that I think are worthy of special note. As you know, the enabling ordinance that creates this commission requires that it operate in accordance with bylaws and rules that are approved both by this body and then subsequently by the mayor and city council. The bylaws were recently approved. They became effective after publication in the city's official newspaper. That publication happened on August 17th. As I've explained previously, the bylaws are like an extension of the body's enabling legislation. Together, the ordinance and the bylaws create and provide structure for the commission and put in place the basic parameters for its governance. The rules really provide structure and guidance for the planning, organization, and conduct of the commission's meetings. The rules set in place the procedures for how meetings are to be conducted and decisions made. As indicated in the introduction in the draft in front of you, every decision-making body needs a way to conduct its business that is fair, consistent, and predictable. This is done through the adoption of rules that provide order. We refer to this in most cases as parliamentary procedure. The manual submitted for your consideration serves that purpose by drawing upon accepted principles of parliamentary law and the common procedures contained in Robert's Rules of Order newly revised to create a condensed and more easily digestible rules manual. The first page sets forth the principles under which these rules have been drafted, as well as several statements about the equality of all members. This is important because, as I've said before, all of the power and authority that's been delegated by the mayor and the council to this commission is vested in the body. No individual member has any authority of any kind beyond what is provided in the enabling legislation or the bylaws. All commissioners are equal. They have equal rights and responsibilities. Those rights and responsibilities include those that are listed at the bottom of the first page of the draft rules. That includes, first, all members present and participating in meetings have the privilege to make or second motions. 2, all members present and participating in meetings have the privilege of participating in discussions subject to the rules of debate. 3, all members present and participating in meetings have the privilege to seek clarification on formal proposals or motions in order to make informed decisions. 4, all members present and participating in meetings have the privilege of voting on all motions except when prevented by a conflict of interest, in which case the member should disclose the conflict and abstain from participation. 5, all members can expect courteous treatment from others and have a duty to extend this same courtesy to others. 6, all members can expect the CCPO's procedural rules to be fairly applied and enforced. Beginning on page 2, the rules discuss the types of meetings that are structured under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. Most meetings will and should be classified as regular meetings. Under the law, all regular meetings are to be adopted by a calendar for a full year showing the dates, the times, and the location of those meetings. The purpose of the law is to ensure regularity for the benefit of the public. Let me repeat that. The purpose of the open meeting law is not for the benefit of the city government, for its elected or appointed officials, for its boards or commissions, for the departments or staff. The law is intended to benefit the public who are served by the city, its elected and appointed officials, its boards and commissions, its departments and staff. And for that reason, there must be regularity in the noticing, planning, organization, and conduct of public meetings. Any change from a regular meeting schedule modifies that particular meeting and generally requires that the notice for a special meeting be given and that the meeting be conducted as a special meeting. Regular and special meetings may be continued, which is usually referred to as an adjourned meeting. The rules here also discuss the issue of quorum, which is defined as a majority of the total number of seats on the commission, regardless of vacancies. No formal action can be taken in the absence of a quorum. A quorum is required to constitute a legally valid meeting of the body. The next 2 pages in the draft address meeting agendas, and they also provide for the standard order of business for regular meetings of this commission. And here I'd like to highlight just a few important points. First, as part of the standard order of business for regular meetings of the full body, so that would be meetings, regular meetings of this Community Commission on Police Oversight, the rules as drafted provide that a public comment forum be conducted as part of the opening of each regular meeting. We did that tonight. You can see that this is strategically planned to enable the public to comment on matters within the Commission's jurisdiction before any formal business items are taken up and transacted. This responds directly to comments and criticism that this commission has received over the past year and provided a dedicated portion of the meeting for general comments from the public at every regular meeting. Individuals can comment orally in person, and they may also submit written comments to be included in the record of the meeting. General comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker, but that time may be adjusted to accommodate the needs of the body. In addition to this general public comment forum at the opening of each regular meeting, the rules as drafted also provide that prior to any formal vote on substantive matters that are listed on the body's discussion agenda, the floor would be opened to public comment on those specific agenda items. So, the public would have multiple opportunities to provide comment during commission meetings. There would be the standard public comment form at the beginning of each regular meeting, as well as time to comment on specific items on the discussion agenda prior to a formal vote. This expansion in public comments directly reflects the primary purpose of this body, which, as I've expressed before and is taken directly from the enabling legislation, is to provide a public forum for community participation and oversight of the Minneapolis Police Department. And these rules would not prevent the commission from structuring additional forums to accommodate public input. So, for example, as we've discussed previously, the commission may organize, notice, and conduct public hearings, public comment sessions, listening sessions, and more. And these additional forums can be planned in a manner that would enable the commission to conduct those forums in alternate locations located throughout the community, provided that those locations comply with certain policy requirements, including, most importantly, accessibility under the federal Americans with Disabilities Act. The other agenda categories that are included in the standard order of business in the draft rules, or which could be included as optional categories, are also listed and detailed in this section. Madam Chair, I'm going to pause here and see if there are specific questions about the provisions I've reviewed thus far, and then happy to carry forward.
If I could just make a comment, I truly appreciate the substantive comment period. That was my main concern when we were talking about public comment at the beginning of the meeting, is that the public would not be able to comment on what was talked about in the meeting. And so I appreciate this accommodation to have both, having at the beginning of the meeting and then having the substantive comment, because, for example, when the chief made his comments, I'm sure people have a lot to say from the public for him, or comments about what he said. And so they would have the opportunity to do that under these rules. I just want to say I appreciate that. Any comments, questions? Commissioner Green Sherman?
I just had a question about the format of the rules. I noticed in the beginning of the document, which, by the way, is really excellent. Thank you to all who worked on it. There's a lot to read through and to consider, and I appreciate, you can really see a lot of work went into this. It says under authority and ranking of rules, and then it lists number 3, the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances, so that I assume that would apply to our ordinance for the CCPO. So the rules are for how we conduct business. Would the mandate that we have to report out on policy in 120 days be something that could be covered under the rules, to give them more explanation or what our process is, or would that fall under something outside the rules?
Through the chair, Commissioner Gurin-Sherman, I may not understand your question fully, so I'll attempt a response, and then if I have not hit it, you'll let me know. The rules are intended to talk about how we structure and conduct meetings. The fact that you have certain obligations that may be codified in your enabling ordinance, which are in the Code of Ordinances, or which are then mirrored in your bylaws. The bylaws being an extension of that ordinance that really provides the governing framing of this body, talk about your functions, powers, and duties. The rules really are more focused on how you conduct business as a body. So likely not an appropriate content for the minute or for the rules, but possibly depending on how it's interpreted to be part of a meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I appreciate the answer. That gives me the information I need. Thank you.
We have reached the 10 minutes. Is there any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate.
So I would just conclude by saying this. In the email that I sent to everyone over the weekend with a copy of this, I think it's important for us to give all members a chance to review. And so I would recommend that we postpone any final action or consideration of these draft rules until the October meeting. As Commissioner Gurin-Sherman noted, it's a very short time until the next meeting, roughly 2.5 or so weeks. If there are comments or feedback that you'd like to offer, I can certainly take those and work with the body's leadership on any possible changes, amendments, clarifications that need to be made before the October meeting. And again, I'd like to get that out to all members to review at least a week in advance. So in the next 2 weeks, if you have specific feedback, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you. Commissioners, I know that the city clerk recommended that we postpone any action on the draft minutes to our next regular meeting in October so that everyone has a chance to review the proposed rules. I agree with that recommendation. Therefore, unless there is any disagreement, I'm going to direct the clerk to receive and file this matter and to schedule it for formal consideration and action at our meeting set for Tuesday, October 1st. Is there any objection to that direction? Commissioner Gurin-Sherman?
I have no objection. I just had a question. If we put in feedback to you, are we violating the open meeting laws if we convey it to all of the commission members, or should we just send it to you?
Through the chair, I'll suggest it is likely helpful for all members of the body to see your feedback. I would recommend that as you submit that feedback, please copy me and Director Phillips. You can certainly send it to all of the members, but I would encourage you here in present I'm telling you, and then on your email to include a disclaimer that says, please do not reply all. That way it's a reminder to everyone that that could constitute an open meeting. It could create a potential for a violation. We do not want to use email to get into a back and forth between members on substantive content, so it certainly doesn't help to make those communications one way. But it's helpful to include a disclaimer, please do not reply all, and before I end that, I will look at the city attorney and make sure that I haven't misspoken.
I would agree with that advice.
Thank you. I do have a motion I was prepared to bring on norms on how we treat the public, but I think they're going to be much better suited now that I've had one read of the rules to find a place to put them in here. So I will send that out with the advice that you've given. Thank you.
Okay. Without objection, the rules will be added to the agenda for the October 1st meeting. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. With that, we've completed all items on our agenda for this meeting. I'll note that our next regular meeting is set for Tuesday, October 1st, beginning at 6 p.m. in this chamber. With that, and without any objection, the commission stand adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. And thank you to all the city staff that came. We appreciate you.